Welcome aboard Imagination Skyway, your grand podcast tour of the magic. I'm your host, Matthew Kroll, and in today's episode, we continue our two-part discussion about the music of the Magic Kingdom. If you missed part one, be sure to head back to our previous podcast episode as we discuss the music of the first half of this park. In this episode, we continue our analysis of the background area music loops, queue music loops, on-ride soundtracks, and iconic songs that play at the park, spanning generations of composers and Disney fans across the 6 themed lands of the Magic Kingdom. At the end of the show, we'll return to Imagination Central, where I'll share ways in which you can stay connected with Imagination Skyway, how you can discuss this topic with others, and how you can help support and inspire the future of this show. Please remain seated, keep your hands and arms inside the podcast at all times, and enjoy your Grand Circle tour aboard Imagination Skyway. I have now seen Country Bear Musical Jamboree, the updated version, 3 times since it appeared in the summer of 2024. I really think, some people might disagree, I think they hit a home run with Country Bear Musical Jamboree because it's updated to feature, as a couple things. So first of all, it features songs that kids and adults will still recognize and love and want to sing along to. And it is meant to be a kind of sing along, participate, clap your hands, stomp your feet type of experience. And it ranges from, you've got a friend in me in there to Bare Necessities, like a perfect hit for a bunch of bears to sing, to Try Everything from Zootopia. Like they've got Frozen in there, Aladdin. They have a really solid mix of tunes, still maintaining the personalities of the bears themselves. They really kept that. If you are a fan of the characters themselves, so if you know and you adore Big Al or Wendell or Teddy Barra or any of the actual characters, if you're that much of a fan that you know those bears, you're going to still see the same personalities through the songs that they sing and how they sing them. Henry, who's the MC, the master of ceremony for the Country Bear Jamboree and Country Bear Musical Jamboree, still that same exact personality, way of speaking, very much honoring the original bears. They have updated costumes. And now I feel like as a parent, I felt a little weird taking Maggie to Country Bear Jamboree because she did see Country Bear Jamboree, but she was an infant too. It was not a big deal. She loved the bear. She wasn't thinking about the lyrics. But as a 4 or 5-year-old, I would have been a little more hesitant to take her to see that show. But now, it is a staple. We listen to the music in the car. She loves that attraction. And they still kept so many, and they've if you really do know, and if you are a true fan of Country Bear Jamboree, the original, you will see a ton of Easter eggs, both visual and audio, in the Country Bear Musical Jamboree. So first of all, they kept the same exit song as you're walking out. I forgot the name of the song, but we hope that she'll be coming back again. That song is still playing as you are exiting the theater. They brought a throwback to Rufus, who was not in the last iteration of Country Bear Jamboree, but on Spotlight up on in the mezzanine they have Rufus on Spotlight. They brought him back. They have a lot of Easter eggs riddled throughout it, but now they've interwoven it with Disney history and had the bears come together to sing favorite Disney songs, but it was all done with Nashville inspiration, really drawing from the part of the world that the Country Bears are intended to draw their musical inspiration from, the Appalachians in the South, and brought in true country and Nashville stars to sing the songs for the Bears. That to me is they've hit so many check marks. And they still kept that to me. Because they can't build an e-ticket in that space, so they still kept something that means a lot to a lot of Disney families and fans, but they did something that Walt would want, which is to bring it forward and keep it relevant so that more generations of families can continue to enjoy this experience. And they added in some authenticity. Like they hit so many check marks for this that I am really happy with what I saw, and it is going to be a must do on our trips while Emily and Maggie are still young, and hopefully when they're older.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's my I'll get off my soapbox for Country Bear Musical Jamboree. But if you haven't seen it, please do. And again, like speaking of the music, it did draw they did draw directly from Nashville's the Nashville's country industry. You're a little more closely attached to the music industry than I am, Mike, so I'm not speaking to this correctly, but that Nashville style
Mhm.
it is very much pulling through in this updated version. So anyway, that's that. Uh, man, I feel like I have to talk about the other one too because you don't want to talk about Tiana's.
Yeah, I
I'm
did like because I haven't
I'm
done it.
owning Frontierland today.
You're only Frontierland. Now, I will mention I'll probably have to make an effort to do Country Bear Jamboree. Obviously, I'm doing Tiana's as soon as I have as soon as I go back. So, no question there. But Country Bear does sound like a lot of fun from what I researched into. And like you said, I appreciate the fact that it was very Nashville inspired. It was also produced by country legend McDonald. I think that's how you pronounce it, Mac McConnelly. So he produced a lot of those songs, and again, he's a 10-time CMA Musician of the Year. So they picked the right person to give, like you said, that Nashville inspired feel to all the different songs that have been included on that attraction. So, but yeah, if you want to still take it away for Tiana's, because I'm not going to be able to say anything about it. I have intentionally, I can't believe I'm saying this, intentionally kept my away from spoilers this entire time. So I'm trying to keep that down to a minimum.
Yeah, I feel like I have spoken about some of this before because we did an entire episode about Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and that I'll direct people to go to listen to that for the sake of time. But I will say that Tiana's Bayou Adventure is also riddled with authenticity when it comes to they developed an entire original cue loop that was developed for the attraction. So Terrence Blanchard, who is the trumpet part, not the speaking part, but the trumpet part for Louis the Alligator in the film. So Terrence Blanchard, who himself is acclaimed award winning, he wrote all the original music for the queue. Some of it adapted from Princess and the Frog themes, others are more original, but they brought him in to actually write the music for the queue itself. And then PJ Morton, who's also based in New Orleans, also award winning, wrote the theme song, which we now have a new theme song in Magic Kingdom called Special Spice, sung by Anika Noni Rose, the voice of Tiana herself. And that to me, like those two pieces themselves, when you think about the music of the attraction, are pulling in a ton of authenticity and direct connection to the film and to New Orleans itself. There's some really interesting Easter eggs that are embedded within it. In fact, the family of Leah Chase, who was the inspiration for Princess Tiana herself, they have some parts in attraction 2, the attraction's music. So there's just so many layers to the music of the attraction. And I'm not, for the sake of you, Mike, for the sake of those who are listening, I'm not going to share the music itself other than the fact that there is a theme song that they talked about, Special Spice. But as you can imagine, there are some themes from the film that are incorporated into the attraction, and they draw on, Zydeco, and bluegrass and like other genres that are at one point, or still prominent in New Orleans, and incorporated in some clever ways into the attraction. They draw on all those genres and themes with still playing into the Princess and the Frog music. So I'll leave it at that. But when you do some research and look into the music of Tiana's Bayou Adventure, you'll see, much like with Country Bear Musical Jamboree, there was a high level of intentionality and authenticity that was brought forward to develop the music for the attraction.
I can't wait
So,
to ride it. I can't wait to experience it.
so that was my best my
No, that was the
best
best
version of a
spoiler-free
spoiler free.
version. Yeah, I appreciate that very much. So,
Gave you just enough.
just enough to get me excited. I mean, I was already
Yeah,
excited, but just enough.
yeah. We could talk about Tom Sawyer Island, but that has, I think, a shelf life to it, and I think we could probably just jump ahead to Liberty Square, because what child doesn't love the music of the 18th century? But no, there's a lot of
Civil War
history here.
era ballads. That's exactly what I'm going to put on my playlist.
All right, Mike, should we start with the Liberty Square music loop again, or do you want to jump to Haunted Mansion? You take me where you want to go, because I again had to steal a lot of time with those last two.
No, we can start with the beginning of the music loop for Liberty Square. As you mentioned, this 18th century. So you're going to be dealing with fife instruments, drums, things like that too of the time. So it definitely emphasize period specific instruments, harpsichords as well, those kind of things, and really avoided any kind of modern orchestration when it came to Liberty Square. Really kept it to that particular era of the birth of the United States, essentially. So something that I've always did appreciate, and it just kept that feeling of the birth of our country.
Yeah, it does draw from those themes. That continues into Columbia Harbor House, where I will spend a lot of my time. I know, Mike, especially for your dietary needs, you're often at Cosmic Rays,
It's
where
true.
yeah,
But
I know that that's where we're gonna go.
I will say Columbia Harbor House. I've eaten there a number of times and had some fantastic food there. So I really like that place a lot. I also do appreciate again is kind of that continuation. That's more of like a seafaring folk music, so it is different from the other areas. So something appreciated too. And again, something that you pointed out is the fact that there's music that is specifically orchestrated for restaurants in throughout the park. One question I did want to ask you though, of course, is do you have not a favorite restaurant, but a favorite orchestration from a restaurant? And I'll be even more specific if I can. Is within Magic Kingdom? Do you have a favorite within Magic Kingdom?
I had an easy answer if you didn't say within Magic Kingdom. Okay, so within Magic Kingdom, a specific orchestration developed for a restaurant. Um, it okay, it depends on my mood, but I'm gonna have to say it's probably Cosmic Rays, because we have Sunny Eclipse and the Space Angels, and
Okay.
yeah, so that music I did. I have an interview with an Imagineer who wrote the music for that, by George Wilkins, and so I got to learn a little bit more about the development of that soundtrack.
That's really
But
cool.
I'll say that.
Yeah, I just have to go back and re-listen to that episode now. After talking about this and doing research, I'll have to go back and re-listen to that episode.
Yeah, it's a good one. But anyway, so yeah, Columbia Harbor House though is a very relaxing seaside or sea chanty again, like type of music that you'll get to enjoy. But why don't we do this? You tackle Haunted Mansion, the big one. I'll
Okay.
take Hall of Presidents,
Hall
because
of Presidents?
I've taken all the big ones so far. So
No,
why
it's
don't-
okay. Yeah, it's your show. You should get all the good, no, not the good stuff, but the main ones. But yeah, did you want to talk about Hall of Presidents? You want me to talk about Haunted Mansion?
Yeah, there's not too much to say about Hall of Presidents. The music that's played in the lobby is going to be featuring a lot of the like hymns and ballads from America. When you think about some of like the classic songs developed for the United States, whether they're military songs or the oh my gosh, I can't think of the, the name of the song. But there's a lot of those classic American songs that are played in the lobby for the Hall of Presidents. But then the other thing I'll say is that the Imagineers developed a score for the modern show, which yes, it's updated every 4 to 8 years with a new roll call at the end, which is really just the capstone part of the experience. There is an entire film at the beginning, which they update about every 10 to 20 years. And the most recent version is, I think, their best, and the score is chilling. And
Yes, fantastic.
it is very patriotic. It's very it has, I think, Walt liked to tell the story of America, and specifically in this case about, I always tell people it's not about the president, it's about the office of the presidency and the history of the office of the presidency. So they do tend to leave politics at the door with the Hall of Presidents, as they should, and just speak very objectively about here are the presidents throughout history, some of the noteworthy ones, a lot that a lot of Americans in particular would know, and some things to know about their lives and how they changed for better or worse the office of the presidency. And so that's the score that accompanies the current version, and the focus on Lincoln, who was Walt's favorite president, is again a very chilling. Like, I usually have chills as I'm listening to that score. They did a really good job making it solemn and dramatic, and grounded in this sense of destiny. And so it's got that feeling to it as you're listening to it. But anyway, everyone's waiting to hear about Haunted Mansion. Again, George Bruns and Ex Atencio. So why don't you walk us through Haunted Mansion, Mike?
So welcome, foolish listeners, to our review of the Haunted Mansion.
Insert
I
wolf
will be
sound.
your co-host, your ghost co-host. Okay, I'm done. So, yes, I am one of those that will repeat the entire sequence. And yes,
Mike,
I know.
Mike,
Yeah,
please
no,
don't.
yeah, no, I have no shame. So, as far as Haunted Mansion, this is one of those attractions that I was terrified of as a kid, and now is one of my favorites. And I love this attraction for so many reasons, but of course, one of them is the music behind it, and that goes from everything from the spooky organ overtures all the way up to a full blown swing arrangement of the, particularly Grim Grinning Ghosts, which, as you mentioned, lyrics by Ex Atencio, and composed by Buddy Baker, and also featuring the Mellow Men, which we talked about before, and they're a very popular vocal group at the time. And you mentioned Thurl Ravenscroft, and you'll hear his very iconic voice throughout that particular song. I also mentioned too that they're great at Tony the Tiger. So everyone who remembers Tony the Tiger from Frosted Flakes, he was the voice of Tony. So, but yes, it's a great song. I mean, one of my favorite. It's one of the songs that was so magical. I'm gonna use. Hey, there's another word. The time of magical.
We haven't said it in a while.
Yeah, I haven't said it in a while. So what's truly magical is that they made a minor key song sound upbeat and friendly, and that is really hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
So something that I've always appreciated. But you have this. They perfectly balanced a sense of spookiness, creepiness, ominous throughout the attraction, but still in this kind of friendly, non-threatening way. Is the best I can explain it. And I mean, that's so hard to tote that line between those two things, where you don't want to make it necessarily too fun and too silly, but at the same token, you don't want to make it too dark either, where it's going to, scare everyone, especially the kids, away. So it's that really, really delicate balance between those particular two things that I really appreciate about what they've done with this particular attraction.
Yeah, and the thing I'll add is, similar to Pirates of the Caribbean, you only hear Grim Grinning Ghosts in the last couple of minutes of the ride, so you're not going to be hearing the ghosts singing that throughout, but you will still hear the Grim Grinning Ghosts, very similar buildup, melody play throughout the experience. Starting even when you're outside, you'll hear George Bruns again with that flute, that pan flute at the very low pitch, playing very slowly at a slow tempo, the same melodic sequence for Grim Grinning Ghosts, and you don't realize it, but you're hearing that same melody over and over in different ways, so it doesn't get too exhausting to hear it. But yeah, you'll hear that melody play throughout, and then of course you get into the graveyard scene, and that's where you'll actually hear the Mellow Men singing Grim Grinning Ghosts as you pass by those busts. including the bust of Thurl Ravenscroft, who everybody, a lot of people think is Walt Disney. It's not. It is Thurl Ravenscroft. They have a striking resemblance, especially in bust form in a graveyard,
Yes, true.
sporting the same type of mustache.
Yep.
Yeah, but that is Thurl Ravenscroft. But yeah, it's honestly, it's like that song is the focus, I think, of Haunted Mansion. Otherwise, it is a pretty solemn and silent attraction for good reason. It's the absence of music and the absence of melodies that make it, very creepy but still approachable
It's
at the
the
same time.
absence of life.
The absence of life, exactly. All right, so we've done 4 out of 6 lands, but the next two are heavy on music. The good news is that Fantasyland is really more pulling songs from films and maybe rearranging them. There's only a couple of originals for Fantasyland, but even the Fantasyland music loop is pulling from, it's taking instrumental versions of like So This Is Love and other, classic Disney songs that you'll hear. But as you're rounding Haunted Mansion, I think the most important music loop at Fantasyland is the Tangled restroom. I'm
Tangled
being
restroom.
facetious. Yeah. But I mean
Explain why.
this is a 30-minute music loop developed for a restroom. So you can take a restroom break with music written by Alan Menken. And what like obviously it wasn't original music developed for the parks, but they took the Tangled score developed by Alan Menken, the incomparable Alan Menken, and designs a Tangled theme restroom next to Rapunzel's Tower with the score from Tangled written by Alan Menken for you to enjoy. So whether it's just like a rest break or a restroom break, whatever it is, to me that is like next level music is to have a restroom music loop. And it's 30 minutes long, Mike. It is 30 minutes long.
Can you imagine adding that to your resume? I rearranged the music from Tangled for the Tangled restroom.
Yes.
Honestly, that would be the very first thing I would put on the very top of my resume. That's for sure. Because like to get that right, I don't know if I've ever been inside there before. I might have once or twice.
Well, even
and
passing by,
yeah,
if you
even
have to
passing
walk by
yeah.
it, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not just inside, it's outside that you'll hear that.
Details, everyone, details.
Yes. But on a serious note, so as you pass by the Tangled restroom, and on the Fantasyland West side, you have right there two of the most iconic and classic attractions at Magic Kingdom and at Walt Disney World. As you're walking from Haunted Mansion, on your left, on the north side, is It's a Small World, and on your right, on the south side, is Pirates of the Caribbean. Oh my goodness, Peter Pan's Flight. Well, the pirate ships. Peter Pan's
Okay,
Flight.
we'll count that. That's fine.
Uh, and which one do you want to go with, Mike? I'll tackle the other one.
Well, I definitely want to talk about It's a Small World, but if you want to do Peter Pan's Flight first, you can do that.
Sure. So Peter Pan's Flight, what's interesting about this is there is a I think this is one of the most nostalgic sounds for me at Magic Kingdom is the ride music of, the instrumental version of You Can Fly as you are boarding that pirate ship, sailing over London, over Neverland. It's just about a 2-minute song, and it does play on repeat. This is sort of very old style Disney attraction, but they haven't updated it because it is one of those, I don't know if it's untouchable, but it is certainly one that maintains a high level of popularity, which maybe does speak to the need to keep it relevant. But it is probably it is not probably, it is one of the most nostalgic attractions, if not, the top 3 nostalgic attractions for people at Magic Kingdom. But aside from that iconic You Can Fly, there is a queue music loop, especially as you're walking through. I love the new queue. I think it's very tastefully done as you're walking through the Darling Children's Nursery and their home. It just, I don't mind spending time in there even for a long wait because it's cool, it's dark, it's quiet, and it's filled with some fun as you're waiting on. Lots of little details to look at. Sure beats the original queue that they had for Peter Pan's flight. But as you're walking through, there's about a 20-minute loop that features instrumental versions of the music from the Peter Pan film. There's even like "Never Smile at a Crocodile" that's there as you're walking by, and it to me, like, the music just screams Peter Pan. Like that's exactly what it is. And they don't have any music sung at any point in the attraction, but it's all instrumental and familiar if you're a fan of the film. So that's the 2-minute summary of Peter Pan's flight.
That's amazing. I never thought about the fact that no words have ever been sung on that attraction. It's all instrumental.
Yeah, all the songs are instrumental. It's a small world, Mike.
After all,
It's a small world after all.
this is true. Of course, this is written by the Sherman Brothers, and probably one of the most recognizable songs from them, let alone probably in history. It's considered one of the most widely played songs in history, and it was originally composed as a slow ballad, but was later sped up to actually make sense for the ride's atmosphere, which is kind of ironic for "It's a Small World" that they had to speed up the song for it. But yeah, it's a beautiful song. It's featured throughout the entire ride in all kinds of various different languages, from start to finish, which is something that I've always very much appreciated about this attraction. It's again, sometimes we all joke about, how often that song gets played on that particular attraction. In fact, they also toy with themselves in The Lion King, of course, where with Zazu. So, which is always a really funny part of it. But I was curious though, and thought, okay, we always joke about how many times we hear this song play. So so first of all, I have to ask you this question. I don't remember. Have you ever broke down on "It's a Small World" before?
No, however, the last room is always backed up. So,
True.
but
Not a backup, but like actually broke down on
No.
that section for a long period of time. Okay, neither have I. I might have there have been some backups or caused some delays, but yeah, anybody out there who have ever broke down on the attraction before, I'm very curious. But outside of that, assuming no delays, assuming no breakdowns or anything like that for the attraction, the average rider listens to that song 14 times on average. 14 times, which actually doesn't sound like it's a lot considering it's about a 10-minute attraction, but it's about a 45-second loop, give or take. So it's about 10 minutes. So it's about a 10-minute attraction. So you're roughly about 14 times you're listening to it on the attraction. So get this. I went one step further and thought, okay, well, what about cast members? So on average, if a cast member is having an 8-hour shift, they are listening to that song 630 times.
I'm going to stop you for a second. I don't know if you asked ChatGPT this question, but okay, because there's
Why?
some falsehood in that answer.
Really? So it's a longer
Yes.
song?
No, there is a cue loop played for "It's a Small World" that the cast members do not actually hear the song you're thinking
That's
of.
what I didn't think so, because that's so funny too. It's like I was actually doing research, and yes, I was using ChatGPT for the research, and I really asked. So ChatGPT, you failed me. This is why you also do your due diligence, because
AI also fails a lot on
AI
when
fails
you
a
get
lot.
really deep on Disney park discussions.
Yes.
That's why I had to
I was
ask
just
that
doing
question.
I was just doing it as a fun calculation, but then when I did the calculation, I realized, do they actually listen to it? Because I remembered the queue not having that song in there. So I actually literally asked it, do the cast members actually listen to the song? And it said, well, yeah, because they can still hear it through the tunnels. And then if they're actually on, like, within the attraction itself, they can hear it. And I'm like, I don't know if I really believe that or not.
No, that's totally false for two reasons. One, there
Okay.
is a cue loop, and yes, it has the melody of "It's a Small World," but it's played in a very different type of way that still might get exhausting to listen to if you are working there for that long. But it's very different. It's more akin to the overture from Pirates of the Caribbean. It's still the Yoho theme, but it's played in a subdued and it's similar to the type of music you would hear at the start of a classic movie, where it's the why can't I think of the word, like the opening medley, of the themes that you're going to hear in the film. Uh, it's that cue music. I believe the cue loop is about 20 minutes long, so it's not exactly the same. Plus, cast members do not work at It's a Small World. They work in Fantasyland, and they rotate different attractions throughout the day. So,
Oh, okay. I did not know that. That's interesting.
so ChatGPT failed you on two ways, but I think
Totally
you're.
fail all
It
across
could have
the
been your.
board.
It could have been your inputs, Mike. You know, it could be because
No,
I
it
don't
was
think it
not
did
my
any
inputs.
research.
I know what to ask it, and I even asked it that question like specifically if cast members were listening to the attraction. Actually, it suggested it to me. It's like, would you like to know how long cast members listen to the attraction for? I'm like, okay, sure, why not? And so it led me astray. So how dare you? ChatGPT for letting me astray. But the average listener though, once you like get into the attraction of course, it's a small world is pretty much playing throughout, and with lyrics, except for one section, if I remember correctly, does not include lyrics. I think that is in Africa, if I remember correctly.
There's two. There's Polynesia
Polynesia, yes.
and the rainforest scene
Rainforest, yes.
are instrumental. But
Yes.
yeah, it's there's really only two sections, front and back, where you hear the. We talked about this before. The fact that you would think it's on repeat, but it's really not. It's really just the front of the attraction when you enter into that tunnel in that first scene, and the last room are "It's a Small World," sung in English. Then you pass through various languages. For I'd say for the next like 5 minutes of the attraction, 3 minutes of the attraction, you're here. I'm roughly estimating you're going to hear it sung in different languages, and then the mid section, the mid back section, it's called like the back or the third quarter of the attraction, you're going to hear the instrumental version, giving you a little bit of a break. They were very smart about the way that they wrote the scenes for the attraction, where it does not, at least to me, like if you're not a fan of the song, it's obviously going to get exhausting to listen to. But I can't say, with the exception of being stuck in that last room for 10 minutes, it's never really been tiring to listen to for me. Maybe it's because I grew up with Disney. I have an affinity for that, or a love for that, nostalgia for that attraction. Those are certainly factors in the equation. But I have listened to it in the car with Maggie. I have, you know, ridden it hundreds of times. I still love that song.
Me too. And also, like you mentioned, they did it very smartly where they took breaks amongst the attraction. So it's not the same every single time, not only in different languages, but different musical styles as well that represent the different regions. So for that reason, even though the melody is the same, it's being presented in a different way throughout the entire attraction itself. Since I agree with you, I feel that it never feels too repeated. It never gets too dull. It never, the only times, like you said, is if you're stuck at the end where it's the same thing over and over and over again, that I can see. But even in that case scenario, unless you're stuck, it really, you're only in there for a few minutes and then you're about to leave. So I'm going to try to challenge ChatGPT specifically about that one part of the ride at the end and how
Yeah,
long that is, and then how long the songs, then on average, how many times you'll hear it specifically for that part. So
that's a
I'll have
good
to.
challenge.
That's a good
Follow
challenge
up.
to give it. Yeah, I'll have to follow up with it, and also I'm going to tell it you were a liar.
And kids, if you have essays that you have to write on Disney, not to say that ChatGPT isn't a good source of information, but fact check,
Fact check.
fact check. I said that before
Fact check.
ChatGPT too. Fact check what you read
Fact check.
online.
Yes, which usually I do. So that one was a last minute addition that I probably should have fact checked a little bit further. So that was my faux pas.
I'm here. Don't worry. I'm
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
I don't know
Fact check each
everything, but that's
other.
something I did know. No. So I'm going to highlight a couple of quick ones that we could probably just knock off because there's a lot to talk about in Tomorrowland too. But things like Mad Tea Party is going to be playing. Both the queue and the attraction itself are playing music from Alice in Wonderland, all instrumental. There's nothing that's sung in it. The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, very, very similar. So you have music from Winnie the Pooh itself. Various different. You have Heffalumps and Woozles that is in there. You have one of the themes from Winnie the Pooh that's featured in there. The queue music is to me, it's like very calming. Like I would play it for Emily, a very calming assortment of instrumental versions of Winnie the Pooh songs, whimsical, lighthearted. It makes you happy. I really enjoy the cue loop for Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Um, the Be Our Guest restaurant has a music loop, which features music from Beauty and the Beast, again, all instrumental. Journey of the Little Mermaid, again, pulling directly from the film. So you're going to hear Part of Your World. You're going to hear Under the Sea, probably the most prominent and core part of the attraction. You're going to hear Poor Unfortunate Souls, Kiss the Girl, the Ends medley. So you're going to get a lot of those Alan Menken, Howard Ashman themes as you're going through that attraction and even the queue. Um, Mickey's Prince Charming Regal Carousel has its own theme. It takes Disney songs but adapts it to that carousel style music. Mickey's PhilharMagic pulls obviously directly from movies.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite scene from Mickey's PhilharMagic?
Ooh, I really like the Be Our Guest sequence.
Mine is now Coco. I think that's actually my favorite
Coco's
scene from
really
the
good
movie.
too. I
Yeah,
would appreciate Coco a lot, but I feel to me, because maybe because it was just the beginning and you still weren't sure exactly what this was going to be like, and then it was the first time you're really seeing what this is going to be like. So maybe that's why it's my favorite. But I think it's also one of the most fun ones, honestly, in general. So and I also like that song. I think it was super fun, and how they utilized the whole scene and how they interact, everything from the smells to the sounds to the visuals, everything about that particular scene to me is my favorites.
yeah. It's again pulling directly from all those films that are featured, and I got the honor of interviewing now Disney legend Robert Coltrane, and he was one of the key Imagineers on Mickey's for Her Magic. So I asked him some questions about picking the films, and of course they could have picked so many, but they ended up with the ones they ended up with. So you can I'm plugging so many other episodes today. um, but I was going to say about Mickey's PhilharMagic. So one of my favorite music loops at Disney is the lobby music for Mickey's PhilharMagic. And here it's
Really?
playing a lot. It's instrumental versions of Disney songs that you'll hear throughout the different films. But one of my favorites, and I don't know if it's the it just makes me feel very happy and calm. And it I think a lot of what I hear in Fantasyland and in the park in general, especially Magic Kingdom, it it really does speak to my inner child. As much as I consider myself like an Epcot fan growing up, Magic Kingdom is really speaking to something, some part of me that is maybe yearning for that childhood simplicity and innocence. Um, there's always some psychology to it, but there's a Second Star to the Right medley that's played in that lobby, and every time I hear it, I just feel so at ease. And it's not like Peter Pan is my favorite Disney film. It's just something about it, and that goes for a lot of the songs there. They're very peaceful. And so it's one of those that I'll listen to if I just want to be in a relaxed and happy mood. I'll try to queue up what I can find from that lobby. Um, Enchanted Tales with Belle, Mike. I don't think you've ever done it, right?
Nope.
Yeah, it's if we ever go together. I know it doesn't always. I get it. Like I would have trouble doing that by myself. I feel a little weird doing that one by
Yeah, I
myself.
would have to. If I would do that, it would be in pursuit of content. I'll put it that way. In pursuit of content. That's what we're gonna put it as. In pursuit of content. It's for
I'll say
research.
come along with us. We'll go with Maggie and Emily,
There
and
we go. Yes.
it'll be. I always get picked out always when I'm with them to participate in the show. So you get to watch me participate as one of the knights on Enchanted Tales with Belle. I pretty much 9 times out of 10 I'm getting picked out on that attraction. But that's going to feature. First of all, it's worth seeing because of the magic mirror sequence. Like to me,
Mhm.
that's worth the wait for that. But then also you're going to hear some of the themes from Beauty and the Beast as one of the reasons I wanted to mention it here. But the last two quick ones worth mentioning are Seven Dwarfs Mine Train has the obviously Hi Ho is prominently featured in the ride, and then also the Silly Song, the instrumental version of that, is prominent in the queue. So you're going to get those two themes from Snow White. And Storybook Circus, which is this part of New Fantasyland, which is not so new anymore. It's over a decade old, but that has its own original score developed by Walt Disney Imagineering that plays into this circus feeling. And that's another area of Fantasyland that, especially when I'm with Maggie and Emily, like it just makes me really happy to be in Storybook Circus and have that kid friendly environment and the big top tents and the Dumbo itself, the attraction and the play area for the kids and the water play area and the character meet and greets. And it's just like, boy, is that a happy spot in Magic Kingdom. So and Storybook Circus, the music playing into this circus theme is a very contributing factor in that part of the experience. But Fantasyland was really like highlighting some of the music that you'll hear from films and shows inserted into that part of the park. But there's a
There's
ton of
so
music
much
in
there.
Fantasyland.
There's so much there.
Yeah. So let's head to the only land that matters to you, Mike, which is
Oh, yes.
Tomorrowland.
I will actually let you start if you would like. On, did you want to talk about the Sunny Clips show a little bit? Because I
Oh,
know that you
sure.
mentioned. So, would you like to start there?
Yeah. So, Sunny Eclipse has been, it feels like he's been a part of Tomorrowland forever, but he's only been a part of it since the 1994, it was called New Tomorrowland, so it's not new anymore. The 1994 New Tomorrowland edition, which was a pretty sizable change to Tomorrowland. It
Yeah.
brought the extraterrestrial alien encounter and timekeeper to that park, to that land in the park, I should say. It saw the resurgence of Carousel of Progress with the Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow theme, because prior to that it was Now Is the Time, was the theme that was there. So like it was a pretty big deal, transformation. And with it we also got Sunny Eclipse, who is a lounge singing space lizard is probably the best way to describe it, but there's no better way to enjoy chicken nuggets and fries in Magic Kingdom than sitting and enjoying the serenading sounds of Sunny Eclipse. So he sings really interesting. I think Bright Little Star is probably one of the most underrated Disney park songs developed. It's a very beautiful romantic melody that was developed, that Sunny Eclipse developed for his girl. They're in a long distance intergalactic relationship, but they're looking at the same bright little star every night as they drift off to sleep. It sounds like I'm joking, by the way, but it actually is a really beautiful song, and I do think is one of the most underrated Disney park songs. Then there's it's very much a parody on some iconic lounge songs that you might hear, and there's things like instead of you Nork, it's uh oh my gosh, why can't I get not did I say I just said New York. It's instead of New York, It's you Nork.
Yeah.
I'm like, why am I not saying this right? It's you Nork. A spoof of New York from Frank Sinatra, and a bunch of other like really interesting and fun and upbeat combination of bossa nova, jazz, all these lounge hits that you might hear. And he's up there on his space organ. So I'm really not selling this well, but it is a great soundtrack that you could go, and it's about a 30-minute loop, and it is an animatronic space lizard that sings lounge hits at Magic Kingdom. Man, if I said this on any other show but a Disney podcast, people would think I am nuts.
But that's why we're on a Disney
I
podcast.
know. I just listened back to what I said in my head. I'm like, imagine if I was on like a major news publication of some kind, trying to sell people on going to eat chicken nuggets and fries, listening to a space lizard singing parodies of iconic lounge songs.
But you know what though? I think that would get people to listen in and be like, okay, I got what this is all about.
George Wilkins wrote the music, though, an
Wow.
iconic and prolific Imagineer. And he brought in, I cannot remember his name, but he mentions it in the episode, but someone who I actually went back and listened to his music on Spotify, and I heard Sunny Eclipse when I listened to it. had a musician friend who's a you know pretty accomplished musician in the same genre of music, and recruited him to be the voice of Sunny Eclipse. So there you go. Head to Cosmic Rays for an original Disney Parks 30-minute loop sung by a space lizard.
And then after you're done eating, I think you should first of all digest your food.
You threw me under the bus with my.
I did
Matt,
not
talk about Cosmic. No, I know. I'm just
I
kidding.
did not throw you under the bus. You were underprepared. No, I'm just joking. For your own favorite restaurant, I might add. So, anyways, we're going to then. Oh, by the way, before I forget, I do want to add to that real quick. What is your, if you were to include all the parks, what would be your favorite music from a restaurant?
Oh, Satuli Canteen.
Nice, of course. I had a feeling
Yep.
you were going to say that.
That's the one.
So,
Anyway,
once you're now had a delicious meal with your chicken nuggets over at Cosmic Rays, you're going to need a place to relax for a little while, but probably something that is still enjoyable, that's going to entertain you, and sometimes it's nice because it's air conditioned or out of the rain. And that, of course, is going to be Carousel of Progress. Can I talk about Carousel of Progress?
you may take the big one.
So,
Matt, you talk about the restaurant. I'm going to tackle another Sherman Brothers classic.
okay. That's right, because I'm the guest. So, so Carousel of Progress, of course, There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow was written by the Sherman Brothers. But you mentioned yourself, which I felt was interesting. That wasn't the original song. So do you remember?
It was for
was-
the ride, the attraction itself. It is a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, but the Magic Kingdom version, it started as that too. But then once the sponsorship ended with General Electric, oh sorry, no, I take that back. I am actually reversing my information. It started with Now Is the Time at Magic Kingdom. When the sponsorship ended with General Electric, they went back to Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow. The reason why it opened with Now Is the Best Time, as I talked about in the Carousel of Progress episode you can go back and listen to, is because General Electric found that Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow is a great sentiment, but doesn't help sell GE products today. So the Sherman Brothers wrote a new song called Now Is the Best Time, because now is the best time to purchase a General Electric appliance for your house.
That's interesting.
And
That's
then
very
the sponsorship ended and they went back to the classic Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow.
Which I
Sponsors
appreciate.
have big influences on attractions when they're helping to fund it.
A lot of attractions like that too. So it's amazing how much that makes that kind of an influence. But nevertheless, There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow is one of my favorite songs. It is on every single Disney playlist I think I've ever created, and love it from beginning to end. Again, one of those songs you just cannot get enough of. It's a simple song, but it's super catchy, super hummable along the way. And I also appreciated the fact that on Carousel of Progress that it goes the style of the song changes as they go through the various different decades. So I did want to ask you, did you have a particular favorite decade of the song that gets played on the attraction?
Do do do.
Yes, mine too. Which I believe is the 1950s, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
yeah, or the 40s,
Was it the 40s or was
the
it
fabulous 40s.
the 40s? Because it goes from
100.
1900 to the 1920s.
It's the turn of the century to the
Turn of century.
1920s to the 1930s to the 1940s
40s.
to the 1990s.
Yeah, sort of.
It's the future, but kind of like the
Future,
1990s.
yeah, it was like 90s, early 2000s era. So yes, so that time frame for the 40s. So I agree, that was definitely my favorite as well.
Do do do. I have to listen in my head now.
Like you said, do. I knew exactly what you.
I knew you would.
Where would you like to go next?
Well, you know what? You threw Carousel of Progress out there, so I'm gonna play my move and take your favorite, Space Mountain.
Well played. I give you a golf clap on that one.
There is a song that was actually written for Space Mountain that a lot of people don't realize was written, but because it's not really played anymore. But you still hear variations of it with the entrance music to Space Mountain. Now, there's a few things to talk about with Space Mountain. So there's the entrance music, the queue, the ride soundtrack, which was not always there, and then the exit music. It might be easier to start in the back. So the ride soundtrack and the exit music was written by Mike Brossell, who was the voice, still is the voice of Living with the Land,
Wow.
and was the previous voice for the TTA People Mover, not the 2022 update, but the 2010s ish version was Mike Brossell. So he actually, I forgot how it came about, but he wanted to write music for Imagineering. He was like a hobbyist writing music, and so they tasked him with writing the soundtrack to Space Mountain, which is a parody of the Disneyland Michael Giacchino version. So you'll hear that same style, but adapted to this more like space techno uh, music in the queue. Sorry, in the mountain. And because unfortunately the rockets for Space Mountain are too small in Walt Disney World to have an onboard soundtrack, um, a synchronized onboard soundtrack, they instead play the music very old school Disney attraction within the building. So you'll hear Mike Brossell's theme, not timed necessarily with what you're experiencing on the ride, but to make it still match no matter where you are, they had to make it upbeat throughout the entire ride score. So it is a very upbeat melody that you're going to hear. And then the exit music is a slightly more muted version at a similar tempo, but not quite as much brass in your face as the main soundtrack. But to me, what's more interesting is so as you are walking through the queue for Space Mountain, you're going to be hearing this theme. Um, and the original song that was developed is called "We've Come So Far," in parentheses, "Promising Tomorrows." When you walk into the building, you're going to hear a more upbeat. It's basically a combination of trumpet and percussion with some woodwinds mixed in version of "We've Come So Far, Promising Tomorrows." As you descend underneath the railroad, you're going to get into the iconic Star Tunnel. And now
Oh, the Star
here,
Tunnel.
yeah, Star Tunnel, which so many Disney fans could also listen to for hours on repeat, no matter what
I
they're doing.
have.
And yeah, I know it's so. What you probably don't realize, or a lot of Disney fans don't realize, which is like, man, Imagineers are masters at transitions. Um, as you walk from that first room into the Star Tunnel, the if you can hear the Star Tunnel, there's a melody to it, right?
Hmm.
Um, it's the same melody as "We've Come So Far, Promising Tomorrows," played at the same
Really?
time, but it's now bringing you. It to me, it's like it's bringing you into space, right? It's taking you from this grounded, earthly melody to a more ethereal version of it as you're looking at the stars as you're walking into this space station. And then once you pass that section, it is now completely ethereal with more spacey sounds, not so much uh, specific melody to go by. But that sequence is very intentional to audioly, so or, using sound to bring you to transition you from Tomorrowland into outer space. Just by the music that you hear, in addition, of course, to the things that you see. So I love the brilliance of the cue and how they transition you with that music using the same melody in different formats. Very similar to what we talked about with Pirates and Haunted Mansion, right? Using that
Hmm.
same melody in ways that you might not recognize, but you're hearing
Exactly.
the same theme. So that's Space Mountain. We have a few more to talk about, Mike. We
Oh
have,
yeah.
really just the last three that are on here, and we could get to some wrap up questions, are all pulling from, again, existing places. Excuse me. So we have Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin, and Tron Lightcycle Run.
Hmm.
So all three of those are pulling from their associated films. So Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor does have the theme from Monsters Inc. as well as the theme as you're walking in to the experience, much like the short before Monsters Inc. is For the Birds. The song that you hear walking into the main show for Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor is For the Birds. So you walk in hearing For the Birds, and then on the show floor itself, you're going to hear the Monsters Inc. theme to start the show. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. And then Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin is taking the themes from the Buzz Lightyear focused parts of Toy Story. So you're not going to hear "You've Got a Friend in Me," but you'll hear like "Strange Things," for instance, with
Mhm.
this definitely rearranged, spacey, definitely upbeat type of approach to it. But yeah, you're gonna hear some of the music from Toy Story, specifically from again like the more Buzz Lightyear focused parts of the film. Do you have anything about Tron, Mike?
I thought one of the things I found interesting about Tron, which is I love the soundtrack for it was heavily influenced by the soundtrack from Tron Legacy, but isn't in fact the soundtrack from Tron Legacy, which I thought that was very fascinating when I did some research. Which is that correct?
It's not directly from. I don't think it's directly from Tron. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think it's directly from Tron Legacy.
So
It's they
it's
had
more
a. Go ahead.
influenced by it. Yeah. So it's more of like an influence or inspired by the Tron Legacy soundtrack that was, of course, composed by Daft Punk.
Yeah, it was written by Joe Trapanese, who actually wrote, if I remember, he helped create the music for um he wrote the music for Tron Legacy or helped write the music for Tron Legacy and Tron Uprising alongside Daft Punk. So
Interesting.
they brought him in to write the on-ride soundtrack and the cue loop for the attraction to keep it very in theme with the same person, to make it sound the same.
Which I felt was really interesting too, because if I understand that they made it, intentionally made it so that the soundtrack on the ride itself was based upon how, how fast the coaster was moving at that point in time. So, which makes a lot of sense. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I think there was like a lot of intent that went behind not only just in the queue, but also on the attraction itself, which is a very fast attraction. If anybody hasn't been on it yet, it goes by pretty quick. So those are something that I really did appreciate about it. And the soundtrack itself is just, it's really phenomenal. I mean, obviously if you watch Tron Legacy, you can attune to how amazing that soundtrack is.
yeah. And there was actually a great article. I had to do research on this recently. Oh, it was for a reel I put together for, but it's from Disney Parks blog, and so they actually interviewed Joe Trapanese about his uh, development of the score, and specifically he talked about. So there's there's the 30-minute loop, and then the 2-minute soundtrack. And this is what he said, because you can actually listen to versions of it on Spotify and Apple Music. And so his quote says, "We wanted to give guests the most memorable moments from this new attraction. The first track, MK Gateway, is a sampling of that 30-minute loop heard outside the attraction. The original pitch was Lightcycle Run, the ultimate athletic competition. Oh, sorry, was Lightcycle Run, the ultimate athletic competition, a very grandiose and epic event. So it was thrilling as a composer to reimagine and rearrange the music in that style. The second track, MK Grid, is the music you experience on the attraction. It combines the exciting launch, the heart-pounding action on the grid, and the glory and the triumph at the end." So there's giving you some little hints about the tone of the cue and the tone of the attraction music itself, the soundtrack. So short of other things, there's live music that you can hear at other parts of the park. There are things that we just sort of grazed past, but Magic Kingdom is full of music. And we managed to fit it in 2 hours, Mike. I'm very proud of us.
That was an impressive feat right that in itself. We went through the entire Magic Kingdom park in 2 hours.
We were at least 30% prepared for our conversation today.
At least.
Um, so, thinking back on the music of Magic Kingdom, two questions. I think they're the same two questions I've asked with the others. One, do you have a favorite music from Magic Kingdom, whether it's a song or a an area music?
Star Tunnel.
Star Tunnel. That's a good one. We did not, by the way, talk about because we skipped over Tomorrowland music loop. Speaking of
Hmm.
which I'll just say it's a 30-minute loop. It's got a very spacey sound to it, but it's upbeat. And you'll hear a couple of familiar themes, including Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow is one of the
Hmm.
themes that you will hear as you are listening to that. Anyway, I had to make sure for people who are like, you skipped the Tomorrowland area music loop. It's one of my favorites. That is one that's a very iconic part of the park since again 1994. Or shortly after that, I think it was actually a few years later they developed that particular update for the oh, it was the early 2000s, right? Early 2000s is this
Hmm.
current version of
Yep.
Tomorrowland's music loop.
Did you have a favorite, by the way?
It's really hard to pick. I'm gonna go back real quick and look at my lists. Yeah, it might be the theme to. This is gonna sound so nostalgic. It might be the theme to Peter Pan's Flight.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely the most nostalgic for me. It's really hard to pick a favorite at this park. I do listen
True.
to the Tomorrowland music loop a lot. Like I said, I really do enjoy the lobby music for Mickey's PhilharMagic. Yeah, there's a lot of favorites at this park. It's hard to pick one, but I threw out Peter Pan's Flight. I think that's
That's a good
maybe
choice.
a more atypical answer, but it's one that I enjoy. Second one, other than using the word magical, I'm going to throw it out now. How would you summarize the music at Magic Kingdom?
That's not fair. I can't use magic. Okay, fine. I will say
Whimsical. No, thinking of
not
synonyms of that.
always. It's not always inspiring. If I was going to use a word that was not magical, that's another take. I would say inspiring, because whether you are going through the jungles and looking for adventure, or you have this nostalgic feeling of the rustic old west, or the honor and of Liberty Square, or even to the spooky setting of Haunted Mansion, to the I'll use whimsical here of Fantasyland, of all these different films throughout so many generations that Disney has inspired along the way. And then, of course, coming into the world of tomorrow and the possibilities, I would say. And then, of course, leading it back to where it all began, and, in remnants of Main Street USA and that particular time period, and kind of going full circle, I would say that it is truly inspiring to be a part of something that is both something about the past. I mean, it's literally what it says in the front, right? It was you're entering this world of was it past past present. What's the saying? Oh my god, I'm not. I'm failing as a Disney fan here. What's the saying?
I don't remember it verbatim, but it's
Oh, okay. We both
tomorrow,
fail. What's the, yeah?
yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy is
And
basically the
yesterday,
theme of that.
tomorrow, and
Yeah,
fantasy. Yeah, something like that. And so that, to me, if we're going to say sum this all up, is that is to me is true inspiration.
that's a great way to summarize it. To be inspirational. And by the way, it's I was basically right again. I don't remember the exact words, but it's here you leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy.
Fantasy. Yep. There you go.
The word I would use to describe Magic Kingdom's music is transportive, because whether you are being transported to your favorite film, or to the jungles of Asia and Africa, or to a fantastic vision of the future, or turn of the century middle America, or colonial America, or the Old West, the music helps to transport you to all those times and places, and you can feel the setting, whether it's the physical setting, the place you are, or the time period that you're in, just by listening to the music. You close your eyes and imagine where you might be. They have a very excellent execution of the music at Magic Kingdom, that it does transport you to all those places, and also yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy. So I think that transportive is probably the word I would use to best describe the music at Magic Kingdom. With that, this is not the last Mouse and the Music discussion, but let's tack one more on probably the most magical of of the bunch. Except perhaps maybe one of these days we'll have to tackle the classic Disney songs. We've talked about the Renaissance era, we've talked about the revival era, some Pixar music era. We have other franchises to discuss, but does it get more iconic than When You Wish Upon a Star, the music from Snow White and Pinocchio and Bambi and Fantasia and Peter Pan? Like, you could probably take us through Walt's time, through Walt's passing, maybe capstoning it with Mary Poppins. Like, talk about that era. Forgetting live action, just focused on animation. There's some iconic music we could talk about there.
Absolutely.
We'll be back. We'll definitely be back for more. But Mike, as always, thanks for joining me on this discussion. Now I need some water because my throat is parched and dry.
Thank you so much for having me. It truly was a magical experience.
Thanks, Mike. Welcome back to Imagination Central. If you haven't done so already, be sure to create a free Imagination Skyway account over at patreon.com/Imagination Skyway. It's your one-stop shop for Imagination Skyway content and podcast episodes and video reviews, chat groups, and lots more surprises. You can create a free account there, or you can sign up for one of our paid subscription options for even more fun. And if you already have an account and are listening on the Patreon app, be sure to leave your thoughts about today's discussion directly on this episode. Remember, you can also engage with the show on social media. Just search for Imagination Skyway on your favorite app or head to imaginationskyway.com. And if this episode has you longing for that next trip to Walt Disney World, you want to hear that iconic Magic Kingdom music, or you want to head to Disneyland or Disney Cruise Line or any other Disney destination, be sure to reach out to our travel partners and sponsors over at KMV Travel. Not only are their services complimentary to you, but as a bonus, listeners of Imagination Skyway, that's you, can get rewarded for booking a trip to Disney. All you have to do is head to kmvtravel.com/skyway, fill out the form to get started, and make sure that you select Imagination Skyway under the How Did You Hear About Us question to be eligible for a special gift from the team at KMV Travel and Imagination Skyway. As you disembark, please remember to remain fully seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop. Then gather your belongings and watch your head and step as you exit. Thank you so much for riding aboard Imagination Skyway, and remember, if we can dream it, we can do it.